So how long have you been in the scene as far as comedy and music and everything in general?
Oh, I did. Well, in general, I've been around since 1978 when I moved here. I started comedy.
That's when you started growing the beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Celebrating No Shave November since I was 12.
I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I don't even know what it means, what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is. Hey, I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat.
This episode of Unloading Meat is not brought to you by your favorite male enhancement such as Blue Chew or whatever other names they have. I really don't know anything about the products. I obviously don't take them. This guy over here, Stefano, does, right? You take them? Which one do you take? You don't? What do you mean you don't? Obviously you don't need. Wow. I'm just sorry, guys. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm just really more impressed that he actually got laid. If you're tired of these fake ads, make sure to reach out to your favorite sponsors like Blue Chew and tell them to sponsor Unloading Meat. Now back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, I love everybody here on Unloading Meat. I gotta love the fellow Maine bro. We both look like we get our hair care exclusively from Atwood's at the Hair and Tail Maine shampoo department. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CR Parsons, actor, comedian, extraordinaire, musician, everything under the, throw in the kitchen sink. You're everything, man.
Oh my goodness, it sounds like the Gilbert Godfrey podcast where the introduction's as long as the podcast. Well, thank you very much for having me, Jared.
No problem. Welcome.
Good to be here. I will tell you, I was confused when you asked me to be on the podcast because when I said, sure, I'll be glad to, where and when, you gave me an address that did not include go into my mother's basement. And you said noon for a comedian. That's like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. for a normal person. I was so confused, but I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. I choose the afternoons for the weekdays is mostly because I have a show where I'll do it open mic at night.
Right.
So if I can hit people in the mornings or afternoons, it's like, hey, kind of. But also I try to schedule around my kids a little bit.
I get that.
Thank you for traveling out here to Bartlesville and coming on the show, man.
Glad you say Bartlesville, but this is about halfway to Kansas from Bartlesville. I got to Bartlesville and I'm like, oh no, I'm supposed to be there in 5 minutes and it's still 15 minutes away. So,
well, how you been, sir?
I've been well. I've been busy. A lot of stuff going on lately, which is good.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a full calendar.
Yeah, always. Been rapping anything recently as far as acting or anything?
Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of acting opportunities this summer. I've done Reservation Dogs the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I honestly think my face has been on there too much. That as a background guy, they don't want the same people all the time.
Yeah,
and I have gotten a weird amount of camera time on that show. So and then Tulsa King isn't filming here this year.
Oh, really?
No, I think they're filming it either in Texas or somewhere else. Yeah,
part of the storyline, possibly.
Probably.
Yeah,
they were done with the bikers, I think, anyway. And
yeah.
Looking like this, that's kind of what I play.
Yeah.
So the acting has not been that much, but the music has been a lot this summer.
Nice.
And so between the music and the comedy, I've stayed fairly busy.
Nice. I don't know if you know this, so I remember I met you last year at an open mic at Tulsa Comedy Club.
I believe I remember that.
It was. And this is going to be weird, but I've told Katie Styles because she was the season finale on my show.
Okay.
She was the host that night.
Yes.
That was my first mic in 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And I went up there and I had my phone kind of propped up there. And I always remember because it fell down during my set and you actually held it up and finished my set, recorded it for me.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
And okay. I remember that now.
It's a small little detail, but it meant a lot. So I was just saying thank you.
Not a problem. We're comedians. We have to help each other out.
But it's just a small little gesture, man. I always remember those small things. So
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you remembering.
Yeah. That kind of shit matters to me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It makes the community actually work.
Absolutely. And as they say, a high tide raises all boats. So you prop up everybody and you're going to rise with them.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what I told Katie Style or when I had her on the podcast. It's like, like those little things, like, just, even though you were just a host, you may not even remember, like that mattered to me, and it kind of set me on a path of, doing this stuff.
Right. Well, I was actually working with a headliner not too long ago. I guess it was right at a year ago. I was working with a headliner who was the headliner the first night I ever did open mic.
Oh, wow.
And so he and I got to work together. And I was telling him some of what I remembered from that night.
Yeah.
And it blew him away because he has been doing it long enough. He probably doesn't remember his first night of comedy.
Yeah.
So for him to have an impact on me that I remembered this many years later.
Yeah.
And to be able to tell him what that meant to me was huge for me. And I think it was cool for him as well.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, even though it was a small thing, hopefully that kind of returned the favor a little bit to you. I hope it meant something to you, because it meant something to me.
Absolutely.
But that's why I was like really happy to have you come on the show, man.
Well, like I said, I'm glad to be here. I've heard good things about the podcast. I know Roscoe's been on, and Michael Patton, and was Joe on here or just Castro?
Both.
Okay,
I've done an episode with both of them. So technically they've been on 3. They did each a solo, and then they came back with a duo podcast.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
So then, and that actually got me to be really good friends with them. So I did their roast after their wedding.
Oh, nice.
So that worked out really well.
Those are always fun.
Yeah,
those are always fun. I've never been a big roaster. That's not my thing.
Yeah,
but I always have fun when I get an opportunity to do a roast.
It's I want to say it's my thing. I mean, I really am gravitating more to the crowd work, or just kind of like general roasting. Mm-hmm. But I'll also have some prepared stuff. But like, yeah, I do. I don't know. I really love a big influence of mine is like Big J. Okerson, and I love his crowd working specials where he can just go out there and just crowd work for an hour.
Right.
And for me, I mean, it's just magical to watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and it's inspiring to me. I'm not nowhere near that level, but
to me, it's black magic because I am not a crowd work guy. I do some crowd work because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
You have to have all those arrows in your quiver, if you will. But that is not my forte. I am one of those guys who wants to sit down and think about something and then rethink about it and then rethink about it, and I will go through so many iterations of jokes before I will ever put them on stage.
Yeah.
That they have been thought through immensely before they ever get said.
Yeah.
And that's my style. That's who I am.
And like I can appreciate that because like I don't know if you've noticed already, I have a little bit of a speech impediment.
Okay.
But so it gives me a little bit of I don't want to say anxiety about it. I mean, I do have anxiety, but like it makes it to where when I'm doing my written bits or I'm doing a prepared show, I'll go over here and I'll record myself 5 times just to make sure it's coming out straight.
Right.
It's a nervous kind of thing where I always do that for my stuff. So I can't really do that with crowd working or with, roast material so much. But if it's a roast battle, I'll prepare stuff.
Right.
But in general, what I'll do if I'm doing these open mics, I'll try to go in with like 2 to 3 minutes, and I've done that like 4 or 5 times to get that out. And then the next 2 minutes, I'm writing there live as I'm waiting to go up, just looking around for observations and stuff like that. Just, you know, oh, this sweater or this scarf kind of shit. There was a lady last night that was carrying around a gigantic Mickey Mouse as like a therapy animal. So I just started doing Mickey Mouse impersonations.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, oh, boy.
Well, see, here's how bad I am. I don't just do this in comedy. I do this in my everyday life. I did not realize for most of my life that most people, before they pick up the phone to call somebody, don't run through this whole conversation in their head of going, okay, they're going to pick up. I'm going to say, hey. No, I don't want to say, hey. Howdy. No, that sounds too. What's up?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with what's up. And I create the whole conversation in my head, and then they answer and don't say what I expect them to, and then I'm completely thrown off.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's probably some diagnosis that
it's anxiety.
I am old
a
enough.
Little bit.
I'm old enough they didn't diagnose that.
No,
I
went to therapy after my last divorce, just kind of straighten some stuff out and kind of like, got some little bit of help. Not ashamed to admit it, but also like kind of just straightened out that kind of thing because I always called it like my devil's advocate.
Right.
Where I'm just constantly, no matter what conversation I'm about to have or decision I'm going to make, okay, I'm going to do the chess moves like 4 different times.
Right. And
play it out so I'm never disappointed at the end or something. I'm going to figure out every single thing before I ever do it.
Yep.
And that would freeze me for a while. So I can kind of relate to what you're saying.
There we go. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Got on some meds, got some good weed. It worked.
Well, maybe I need the meds. I tried the weed.
If you get the wrong weed strain, it's going to lead to higher.
Absolutely.
Then the paranoia, man. Am I really thinking these thoughts?
Oh, the one that got me was one night I was laying in bed looking around the room, and I could not decide whether it was the room I lived in or the room I used to live in.
Oh, shit.
And then I got to the point that I was like, okay, is this the new normal? That I just don't know what is going on. Is this the new normal? Am I going to have to live like this forever?
The worst one I had was I took an edible, but a friend had this. It looked like a Hershey chocolate bar with individual bricks. And she told me that they were 100 milligrams. And I thought the whole bar was 100 milligrams, or each piece would be 10.
Okay.
No, each piece was 100. It was 1,000 milligram bar.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't have that big a tolerance.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just ate 100 milligrams right off the bat and had nothing to eat that day or anything. And we're sitting over there watching TV. And at that time, we had a sectional couch. And I was so high that I was just zooming out.
Yeah.
Like the room's getting smaller and tucked away. So much so that for some reason I kept telling them that I thought I was like, you know, some people, like, there's a couch or a chair and they sit on the top of the headrest.
Right.
I thought I was up there on the counter and I was going to fall back off the couch. And they're like, no, you're in the sectional.
You're
you're
in
fine.
the couch. You're fine.
Yeah. And they're like, no, I'm going to fall off. I'm going to fall off. Like thinking I was like a flat earther or something, like a flat coucher.
That's
like,
funny.
Yeah. So that happened for a couple hours.
That's
kind
funny.
of ride it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had some interesting experiences with weed occasionally, but I'm not a big weed user. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not a huge weed user. I will indulge occasionally in an edible.
Yeah.
But that's not my thing. Whiskey and cigars are my thing.
Nice.
As opposed to weed. So
Yeah.
I am definitely not California sober. In fact, I'm usually not sober at all.
I'm a recent connoisseur or just a fan of the weed stuff. Like I didn't get into it till it got legal in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't really, like I said, until I went through the therapy and all that stuff, and I started working on my depression, my anxiety, because I was having panic attacks during COVID.
Yeah.
And I still do. Like I had a panic attack last week at Hunt Club.
Oh yeah.
Just after I went off a set, it happened.
Yeah.
I can't control them sometimes.
Right.
But weed was something that I started with that. I got my card after I went to therapy.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of, I don't want to say microdose, but like I'll just occasionally hit my pen just a little hit every once in a while throughout the day. And that's all I do.
Yeah.
And it kind of just keeps that, like I said, the devil's advocate shit of just like, okay, now I can just think.
Yeah.
And just chill out. And for me, it works.
Yeah. It's a maintenance level.
Yeah. And that's how I kind of look at it is, I don't ever condemn anybody of a vice or anything like that. It's more like I look at it like everything just needs to be in moderation.
Right.
Anything can be taken to the extreme where it's a problem.
That's right.
So as long as you're an adult about it and you're doing what works for you, be on. Have fun.
All things in moderation.
Yeah.
Including moderation.
Yeah. Tell that to the moderators at every single political debate. Okay.
Yeah. This is not your platform.
Yeah.
You are here to keep them on track, not to be your platform. I love it when they go into a 20-minute spiel before they introduce a question.
Yeah.
You do realize you're not running for office.
I think the most realistic debates that I've ever seen honestly happened on South Park.
Oh.
When they had the debates and all they did for the candidates was a giant douche or a turd sandwich.
Yes, I remember that.
And I was just like, this is pretty much like, yeah, this feels too real. I'm going
Very
back.
much so.
I'm going back and watching. My daughter's getting older and she's a teenager now.
Okay.
So I'm letting her watch Select. She's curious about like Family Guy and that South Park and stuff. So I let her watch Select episodes with me because like I'm the kind of parent where I kind of grew up in like my parents were like, okay, we're gonna watch a rated R movie together. Cover your eyes for the boobies.
Right.
But they always taught me like if you're gonna have questions about this stuff, it's better to watch it with a parent. And if you have questions, they're right beside you.
Right.
Let's guide you through this thing that you're curious about rather than you just going off and doing it in secret.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how I was raised. So I kind of do that with my kids. It's like she's like curious about South Park. Okay, I'll show you a couple episodes of South Park. Let's watch it together. If you have any questions, let's talk about it. But I don't want to show her the ones, the extreme ones where people are just getting cum on and stuff. But
right.
I just think for me, that's how I parent.
Well, see, I grew up in a household that pretended none of that existed.
Oh.
Yeah. There was no conversation about that. In fact, it was funny because my dad years ago had a video editor. And he would pull these movies that are like softcore porn movies, but they had a good storyline.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember a couple of the titles now because they were weird, dumb movies, but they had interesting things. It was a Bonnie and Clyde type of movie, but with two girls, And there were several sex scenes throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But he would edit out the sex scenes, and you wouldn't notice because you don't need those scenes for the storyline.
Yeah.
And so I remember watching some movies that later on in life, I found the same movies like at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I want to watch this again. And I pop it in, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
That did not happen in the movie I saw.
Yeah. It's like when there's times where I was growing up where I'd watch a movie on USA or like FX and it's highly edited.
Yes.
Like, okay, one of my all-time favorite movies is what is it called? I'm blanking on it now. Airheads.
Okay.
Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler, where they take over the rock and roll station.
Yes.
And it's a great
Love
movie.
that movie.
It has a huge cult following and stuff.
Yeah.
Chris Farley's a cop in there. I mean, it's just a great cast. But that movie I first watched like a USA like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. It's highly edited.
I'm sure.
And then I bought it like on Vudu a couple years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, it's on there. I bought it. I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like, holy crap. A lot of Adam Sandler. Happy Gilmore's the same way.
Oh, I'm sure.
All the scenes at like the retirement home where his grandmother's in there with Ben Stiller
Right.
are so heavily edited. They don't show any of that shit on USA.
Yeah.
It's like,
See,
okay.
that takes away from the movie in some ways.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So how you been, sir?
I have been well. Like I said, the music thing has been busy lately. We've done a lot of shows. Last weekend we did I can't speak right now. It's too early in the day. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's too early in the day for
Keep
comedians.
drinking. It'll be okay.
No, the last
We'll get to
weekend we
5
did a
o'clock.
big fundraiser. There's a Tulsa fireman, Harrison Mosby, who, young man, 20-something years old, young father, who unfortunately came down with cancer.
Oh, no.
And he's had to have an entire arm and shoulder removed, part of his rib cage. So they were doing a big fundraiser for him, so we got to play that last weekend. And I told my buddy Kevin Price, the lead singer of the band, I told him if I had any bright ideas in the future just to slap me, because the event was happening at 2 different breweries, and we were going to have the music there.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to decide which one to set up at, and we couldn't decide, so we decided we'd just set up at both and do 2 hours acoustic at this venue and 2 hours with the full band at this venue. And that's a stupid idea.
Yeah. I mean, what could go wrong?
Yeah. Trying to set up and keep up with and then perform for 4 hours straight. Yeah.
And then 2 breweries in between with beers. I mean, what could go wrong between everything?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of beers had, and a big shout out to Cabin Boys Brewery and their Bearded Theologian, which is one of my favorite craft brews in town.
Nice.
But there was a lot of money raised, and so it was a good weekend.
Nice. That's that's awesome. Weekend. Hopefully that helps them a lot. That's awesome.
I hope so too.
So how long have you been in the scene as far as comedy and music and everything in general?
Oh, I did well. In general, I've been around since 1978 when I moved here. I started comedy.
That's when you started growing the beard.
Yeah, exactly. Celebrating No Shave November since I was 12. I started comedy. My first open mic was May of 2011. So it's been 12 years now.
Nice.
And I started, and I say it was a lot like heroin. I started it, and then it never let me go. Because now I can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. There is nothing in life that is so bad that a good set in front of a good crowd can't fix.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in life so good that a bad set in front of a bad crowd can make you feel better about.
Yeah. This part will be a little bit trimmed. I completely understand. I did 2 sets last night. Mm-hmm. One at Looney Bin and then one at Hunt Club. And I had a fantastic... This will be trimmed and shit like that. There's always some drama in the comedy scene.
Oh, yeah. Every comedy scene.
Yeah. I did Looney Bin, I did a great open mic set there. It was a really packed place. I can't remember,
Cam Bertrand.
Yeah, he's there this night. And so it was sold out. Like, it was packed. So it was a great night to do an open mic. So I had a great set there, went right over to Hunt Club, and I did the same set, because as soon as I got there, Zach was like, hey, you're going up right now. I was like, oh, okay. So I did my set. Had a good set there. Sat back down. There was a guy a person I've never actually talked to named...
Oh, yeah, I know.
Went up, walked up and just goes, "Hey, your joke about blowjobs, I like. Sounds pretty similar to something Ethan Sandoval did once, and just basically called me a joke thief live on stage."
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, "That's cool." And I know Ethan, so I messaged Ethan. I was like, "Hey, here's my joke verbatim. Do you have anything like this?" And he's like, "No, not at all." And I'm like, "Cool." So I just screenshot that and sent it to and I was like, "Have a good night." And I blocked him. Like, I'm just like,
well,
like, why'd he even do that? Like, it's just
there is so much parallel thought in comedy that it's not even funny. I used to worry about having the same joke as somebody else.
Yeah.
And then I realized if I had written a joke and then I saw a comedian do it on TV, I should be proud of that joke.
Yeah.
Because that means that I was thinking the same as some professional comedian.
Yeah.
Now, I quit doing the joke, but I can be proud of it.
Yeah.
But I quit worrying about having close stuff after watching Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. It was
it's a great show, Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah. Brian Regan was on there with Jerry Seinfeld, and they were discussing a joke that they both do. I think it was about a toaster. You know how Jerry is.
Yeah.
When he does a joke, he deep dives into stuff.
Yeah.
But apparently, Jerry did a joke where his premise, setup, and punch went this direction. And Regan did the exact same joke, except for his premise was Jerry's punch, and his punch was Jerry's setup.
So just reverse, basically. Yeah.
Completely reversed. But almost word for word, the exact same joke, just back and forth.
Wow.
And they joked about it, and they both joked that, yeah, I still do that joke.
Yeah.
So at that point, I quit worrying about that. There's a comedian in the scene right now that does a joke that is almost identical to one that I've done for years.
Yeah.
And I told him once, I said this is going to be funny because I've got almost the exact same joke. Don't quit doing it.
Yeah.
Keep working on it. Keep finding new stuff in it. But it's just funny that we both had the exact same thought about the exact same thing.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I messaged Ethan and like I told him the whole joke and he was like, "Yeah, I don't have anything like that, but he said, you have my blessing, do whatever you want." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And we're cool.
Yeah.
Cause like, even though I never met him, I met him once in person when we did the Castro roast, but I actually, it hasn't come out yet, but I did a webcam interview with him. So he'll be on the show.
Okay.
So like we talked for a good 2 hours. So I'm pretty friendly with him now.
Right.
So when that happened last night, I was just like, "Hey, Ethan," like, I was just more taken aback, like, why is this happening right now? Like, why did you waste your 5 minutes to do that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Like, it was just.
Some folks feel that they have to say something if they see something like that. I'm not one of those people. I let a lot of stuff pass.
Yeah.
With everything, I'm one of those people that even on the social medias, if somebody says something I disagree with, I feel no compunction to correct them or state my opinion. In fact, I have had comedian friends of mine who lack that ability, by the way. Comedians are notorious for lacking that ability to just stay silent.
Yeah.
But I've had comedian friends, they're like, "But they said that on your page.
Yeah.
You posted something, they responded in a way that I know you don't agree with because we've talked about it. They said that on your..." I'm like, "Yeah, but they said it."
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way I feel about the rebel flag.
Yeah.
Don't ban the rebel flag. Leave it legal because I want to be able to see it from a mile away so I know to avoid those folks.
Yeah, that is a very valid statement.
If people can't show their stupidity, then you don't know they're stupid.
That's very fair. That's why I feel bad. Like, okay, you saw my car out there. I have a Dodge Challenger.
Yes.
It's not even a Charger. It's not the General Lee, but it happens to be orange and it's a Dodge.
Right.
I can tell a person a mile away just by their reaction to my car.
Oh, how funny.
I went to a Church's Chicken drive-thru. I think it was Sky Took Our Wasp or something like that. Went through, and this guy who wasn't even the person that was taking the order, he was just a cook in the back, went out of his way to come to the window and lean out and go, "That'd look a lot better with the flag on top, and you got the 01 on the side, and good on, buddy." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, cool." And he's like, "Okay, that's all I have to tell you that." I'm like, "Okay."
That's funny.
I do say I have a little bit I'm trying to work on where I talk about like I can empathize with ladies getting catcalled because I get it in my car all the time.
Yeah.
Legit went through a Wendy's drive-thru in Bartlesville a couple weeks ago, and I have my windows down. I'm in the drive-thru, and a cook from Wendy's walking out. He's taking the trash. He backsteps and just looks at my car, and he goes, And I'm just like, what kind of reaction is it's a car?
That's funny. Well, let me ask you a question then, because all these guys seem to think they need hot cars to get hot women.
Yeah.
Has it ever been a woman that's done that?
No.
Of course not.
No.
It's all, I ride an old Harley,
Yeah.
and every time it's never a hot girl that comes up and goes, "Ooh, I really like your Harley."
Yeah.
It's always some creepy old dude going, "What year's that?"
Yeah. It always reminds me of the dude in Dodgeball that's getting in the car wash and he's playing with his belly button.
Yeah.
He's like, get in there good like. That's what I think of every dude that buys my car.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's the kind of the deep pulls. That's just how my mind works. Those
Sure,
deep cut references.
Absolutely.
I told a dude, I was at Rose Lounge 2 weeks ago, and there was a guy sitting at the front bar, and he had dreads, and I was like, I loved you as the breakdance fighter in Zoolander. Just little things like that. You know what I mean?
Funny.
I like having fun with people like
See,
that.
those are the kind of references that it doesn't matter whether they get them or not.
Yeah.
It's funny to you, and that's what matters.
Yeah, because I'm a big proponent that like the two things I have no ego about myself. I'm still really new, but the two things I like, almost like a mantra, I chant to myself as I'm going up, is have fun.
Right.
Because if I smile and I'm having fun, they're gonna have fun.
Right.
And take them on a roller coaster ride of energy.
Yeah.
Because I truly feel, and I've learned in the short time I've done it too. It's like you don't want to go low on energy unless you mean to.
Right.
Like
right.
if you get them low and you can't get them back, you're screwed sometimes. Right. So I'm just very cognizant of that kind of stuff, and I know this helps a lot.
Sure.
Like I'm up to like 30-something episodes of just doing this for a couple hours, talking to comedians and stuff and riffing. So like that's also the guilty pleasure of this podcast. Is I can have peers or people that I admire in the scene, and I can kind of rack your brain for a couple hours, and then I have the footage.
I can go back and revisit it anytime I want. When I'm naked, late at night, I can go back and oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah, after I clean up and everything.
That was just my thinking.
Order Taco Bell on DoorDash, chalupa, Mexican pizza.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Mexican pizza.
Ugh.
They brought it back.
I know.
They brought it back.
Too bad you can't get your dignity back when you order it.
See, I feel that way about the McRib. I love the McRib.
Yeah.
I unironically love the McRib.
Yeah.
It is so awful.
Yeah.
But there is something about it that I just cannot resist.
It's kind of how I feel about the filet of fish. It's like the one thing on McDonald's menu I'll order every once in a while, and I'm just like, it doesn't taste great, but it's still a filet of fish. Like it just has something about it. The Arby's had this promotion for a while where they had the real rib sandwich, and they're like, Arby's, we have the real rib sandwich. And I'm like, who is this for? Does it taste like the McRib? If it doesn't taste like the McRib, nobody's ordering it.
Right. I don't want it if it doesn't taste like the McRib.
Yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, and plus, what are you going to do? Put artificial bones in that I have to pull out? Like,
right. That's what I was thinking when you said real rib sandwich. I'm like, that would be hard to eat.
Yeah.
You'd have to eat around the bone and the sandwich. That'd be complicated.
Yeah. I like my riblet.
Yes, exactly. My riblet that has probably no rib meat. That's probably all lips and assholes.
Just ground up Grimace. Happy birthday, Grimace. Been seeing those everywhere.
Rubble.
I look like Grimace. That's why I don't wear purple a lot.
I used to say I don't wear purple and I don't wear yellow because I don't want to look like Grimace or a school bus.
I opened my so I was trying to figure out I went and did Looney Bin last night, and then it's like a PG-13. They want to be kind of cleaner,
right?
But then it's like I don't know where to draw the line on certain words. Where I'm like, okay, can I say dick or should I say penis? Which is funnier? And then sometimes if you do just the medical term, just the blatant penis or vagina, it's funnier.
Absolutely,
because it's more awkward.
Absolutely, yes, it is. And dick is not as plosive as penis.
I'm gay for you, and you're gay for me. Spider-Man, why are you gay for that guy?
Yeah.
So, and that's a weird thing, and I remember hearing it years ago when I was doing theater, that the plosive words, the ones that cause you to pop, those are the ones that people pay attention to.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a musical theater and you want to get their attention, emphasize the plosives and de-emphasize everything else. If you want it to flow, you de-emphasize the plosives.
Ah, okay.
Well, having said all of that, dick is not as plosive as penis. So you can hit that line.
Yeah.
Penis.
Yeah.
And it gets everybody's attention very See, I said penis and something
We
went
activated the War Machine helmet up there. It literally turned on the eyes up there. That's creepy.
Is that what it is?
That's some Furby level like creepiness. The toys are coming alive. Run, CR.
They're after us.
It's Toy Story 5.
Toy Soldiers.
Yeah.
That's even scarier.
Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers,
That's a
that's
great
it.
movie.
Toy Soldiers was a whole different movie.
Yeah.
And different song. Sorry.
Toy Soldiers. Isn't that Eminem?
No. Toy Soldiers was a girl from the 80s. Step by step, heart to heart. Sorry, I don't want to get you
Copyright
striked, but we all fall down like toy soldiers. What was her name? Forget her name.
So I know that because that actually is a hook for an Eminem song. He does a song.
Is it?
He has a song called "Like Toy Soldiers."
Okay,
and it's that part is the hook of the song.
Okay, so he borrowed it from the '80s song.
He borrowed a lot of stuff. He did. He borrowed "Dream On" from Aerosmith.
Yeah.
And a couple. I mean,
that's
everything's a sample.
That's what rap was started as.
Yeah.
And so I was sad when everybody started running this copyright stuff and wouldn't let rap artists use old stuff.
Yeah,
because they couldn't afford to get licensing.
Yeah,
but that was the best part of old school rap it was literally a guy on a turntable playing something and then rapping over it.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Wandered off again.
You're fine. I'm a rap head too. I recently been watching. I'm a big fan of the Wu-Tang show on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through the history that it's actually made by them too. And it's fascinating to hear like their story of RZA going through everything.
Right.
And it even goes through his failed solo stuff before he formed the Wu-Tang Clan in season 1. And he was Prince Rakim.
Yeah.
And they put out this single called "I Love You, Rakim."
Yeah.
And it shows this whole thing of like he has a sample and they put him on a tour, and then halfway through the tour they didn't get the copyright, they didn't get the approval for the samples, they have to change the beat. Right. And so he's promoting a song that he can't even play for people.
Right.
And he can't even steal the singles, so it dooms it. And then they pull his record deal because he didn't do well.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "You didn't even give me a chance." Like,
right. Yeah, you set me up for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because he just agreed with everything they said. He didn't ever hold his ground. And so that's why he formed the Wu-Tang Clan.
Right. Well, and a lot of that was probably he just didn't know.
Yeah.
Because even some of the professionals didn't know and didn't understand what needed to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very unprofessional here and make sure I turn off my phone because it just vibrated, and I want to make sure it doesn't ring during the middle of the podcast because that would be very unprofessional of me.
You're fine. We already had War Machine interrupt.
Yeah.
Damn Don Cheadle. Yeah. That's like I said, that's some Furby stuff. Like, my ex-wife was really big into Furbies and stuff, and I don't know if you ever remember those. But
yeah, I had Furbies back in the day.
They had those phantom electricity bugs where like you could take the batteries out of them, they would just turn on, and it'd be 3 o'clock at night, and and just that was some like Chucky level shit.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I'm still convinced that those were spying on us way before any of the stuff that we think of spying on us.
Well, I remember, so you grew up around, or you were around here, so you know like vintage stock.
Oh, yeah.
There used to be one, I think it's like 41st Street before the tornado came and like destroyed all that building in the AT&T store and stuff like that. And they had a big, huge vintage stock there.
Yes.
And they had a huge selection of Furbies there.
Yeah.
And there was this female that was working the register, and she was like literally terrified there. She's like, "I'll be here late at night," and they're behind the glass, and they'll just turn on.
Yeah. And
it's like Five Nights at Freddy's or something like that. She's like, "It's the scariest thing," and I literally have panic attacks and like anxiety about
I'll
this.
bet.
And I'm like,
bet. I would too.
Like that's just like, yeah, burn them with a fire. Burn them with a fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read some interesting stories of Furbies that went bad.
Yeah.
And it's funny to read.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't really judge on like anybody wants to collect whatever they want, but just no Furbies here, no Furbies, or furries.
Furbyless and furryless.
I'm not kink shaming, just no furries here. Even though we have enough hair to. You know.
I would say between the two of us.
I mean, I thought about F it, we're gonna be the long hair bros today.
Wear it down.
Wear it down. It's appropriate for the season. I try to dress for each guest. I mean, we have.
Well, our shirts are very, very accurately matched.
I do have a black and white Aloha shirt somewhere.
And I have a Day of the Dead black and white shirt that's mostly black with the white Day of the Dead stuff on it that I almost wore. So
I try to like dress for each guest. JB Watkins.
Oh yeah.
I had him on last week, and I was like, "Well, I can't dress for you because you're so bald. I don't have a ball cap." So what I did is I just wore this.
Oh, nice, nice. Very good.
I want to get all the use out of this. It was the best $10 I ever bought online.
It's amazing what you can get online and how cheap some of it is.
Yeah.
And just I grew up in a time before the internet, and
Yeah.
so if you thought of something cool like that, you had to make it yourself.
Yeah.
You did not have the option of just going and finding it.
Unless you send in the post sticker and you get 20 CDs for $1
Right.
from Camelot or whatever those little lads.
Or saved the little tags from your cereal.
Yep.
Your cereal boxes and sent those in. And then 6 weeks later, you'd get something that was probably, 5 cents in China.
Yeah. I remember being 5 years old and my dad collecting the camel points back in the day and the catalogs to get all the stuff from camels.
Yeah. My dad smoked Bel Airs.
Really?
Yeah, he was high class. He smoked those menthol things.
My dad's always been a chew guy and he did Skull, but as soon as that camel thing, I distinctly remember being like really young before they banned that stuff.
Right.
He was like, I'm going to switch to camels. You can get some cool shit. You can get a speedboat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a whole documentary about those kind of campaigns. There's like, Where's My Jet from Pepsi?
Right.
On Netflix.
I remember that Jet commercial.
Yeah,
I remember
me too.
those ads. And I remember thinking and joking when the ads came out.
Yeah.
That somebody's going to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And they're going to call them on that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they did.
Yeah. It's a great documentary, at least for the first part or two. It kind of drags towards the end and goes into other territories. So they kind of run out of things to talk about.
Right.
There's some times where it's like, hey, we're going to give you 3 episodes, but we only have enough content for 1.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like the shorter little series. Like I just watched The Price of Glee.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
It's on what used to be HBO Max. It's
Max?
now just the Max.
Yeah. I'm a Max subscriber now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on there, and I just discovered it yesterday, and I watched all 3 episodes straight through because it's interesting, fascinating, and a little bit scary.
Yeah. What's it about? If you don't want no spoilers.
Well, there's no spoilers because it's really a documentary on what happened to parts of the cast. Because there are 3 cast members from that who are
so
now
it's about the show
deceased.
Glee. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's about the show Glee and the price of being on or involved with Glee.
Yeah,
because they lost 3 cast members. They lost several crew members over the course of filming, and they only had 5 or 6 seasons, so it's not like it went on forever.
Yeah,
but the number of losses that they had is kind of eerie.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought giving a cheerful show to the guy behind American Horror Story would have a problem? You know what I mean? That show's not demented at all.
No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest.
I'm not a big horror guy, but like in general, like I'm very claustrophobic and stuff. Like stuff holding me down stuff freaks me out.
Yeah.
Like so much so like I love Quentin Tarantino. Kill Bill, when they bury her alive, can't watch that. I have to skip through that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That stuff will just freak me the fuck out. I can't.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's my show. I don't care. I was like, I need to censor myself about.
Yeah, we're well after 30 seconds or whatever it is YouTube requires you not to cuss at.
Roscoe did that when he was here. He was like, just tell me whenever it's 30 seconds. And I was like, okay, why? And he goes, what is it? And I was like, 31, 32, 33. He goes, okay, good. Fuck. I was like, oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube has all kinds of weird rules and things that they do and mess with for monetization and demonetization.
I'm learning
it. Hard to keep up with.
I'm trying to I'm even changing up my thumbnails and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm a big guy. I study stuff. So I noticed YMH and all of them changed their thumbnails 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh yeah.
And now if you notice all the big podcasts, when they do a thumbnail, it always has the traditional YouTube face.
Right.
But they also now include always the mic and the headphones. And then
really?
they have them both separated on the side. And then they always have the logo and stuff in the middle.
Huh.
So there's something about the algorithm that works like that. So I just designed mine like that. Yeah.
Hey, it's good that you study it because not everybody does, and it'll show in your product.
I try, and without any ego or anything. I don't like to name drop people, but I had Josh Wolf on the couch, and I was able to produce an episode for him.
Oh yeah,
for his podcast. Him and his son came in and they did the Canes Ballroom.
Yeah,
and they wanted to shoot an episode of their podcast on the road, and they were looking around, and somebody said, "Hey, Jared has the best podcast studio ready." And they came here, and I got to sit here, and I produced a full episode of them, and shot it, and sent it to them, and they paid me, and they're basically my first client for my production studio.
Oh, that's awesome! I worked with Josh at one of the casinos in the area several years ago. Great guy.
Yeah,
I ran into him when I was out in LA back in 2019, and great guy.
Super
absolutely
nice,
fun. And yeah, as nice as they come.
Yeah, and like he took photos and stuff like that, and then just like it was just nice to sit down here and chat with him for a bit, and like, you know, not that, like I said, I don't try to have an ego about it or anything, but whenever someone like that is like, hey, I love your logo, you're doing a good job, and like this production value is great, and like their first 30 minutes of their show is just talking about my set,
right?
Like, it kind of gave me enough confidence where like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at least I could take that from it. I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm fucking made now or anything like that. But like, I'm more like, okay, I'm doing something right. And I think that's the appropriate response.
Absolutely.
I always try to stay humble. Yeah. And, you know, that's just how I always, you know, want to live life.
Absolutely.
Don't need that damn ego. I already have enough.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a reason we become comedians.
Yeah. What? Microphones? People, you know, people can't talk back? Okay.
You mean I get to speak and everybody has to listen?
Yeah.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah. So, was she a hooker? Or prostitute? Sex worker. I'm not trying to shame. I'm just more curious. She wasn't? You went on a date? How the fuck are you getting laid? And how the fuck are you not needing a company like Blue Chew? Who, coincidentally, is not sponsoring today's episode of Unloading Meat. But they could be. They could be. If you're tired of these fake ads, make sure to reach out to your favorite sponsors like Blue Chew and tell them to sponsor this show. Now, back to the episode. And it's kind of like, I don't know, and I took speech in college and stuff like that, but like also, I've never really struggled when I'm up there to not let go of the control. I know there's some comedians that struggle sometimes of like giving up control of the audience and they can't get it back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're like worried about hecklers or people, you know, doing a tag or something like that. Then there's some people that are just naturally good at just never letting go of control. And I just feel like I kind of have that too, to where I don't really have that problem.
You know, I knock on wood. I have been fortunate that I have not dealt with a lot of really bad hecklers.
Yeah.
And I think it's a combination of, I think I come off very likable.
Yeah.
And so people don't want to heckle me because they kind of like me.
Yeah.
And then also I look like this, and I think that can be a little intimidating for some people. So I think the people that would be intimidated by me being a big guy with a lot of hair, are going to keep quiet, and the people that find me likable are going to keep quiet. So I have not had to deal with a lot of hecklers, and I'm appreciative for that because I'm not Matt Rife. I'm not crowd work is not my forte.
I can be.
Well, I would be more Bert Kreischer than Matt Rife if I took my shirt off.
That's what I said one time. So like, there's been 2 times I did sets and I wore a crop top, just for the laugh. There was one time where I wore it and I had a sweater or I had a hoodie on zipped up, and then I had my blazer over it. And like halfway through, I was like, "Man, it's getting hot in here." And I took my blazer off. Did another joke. I was like, "Man, it's still not hot enough or cool enough." And I took it off, and that was the applause. And it's just kind of those things. But I don't want to be like Bert, where it's like nothing against it. It's just I don't want to ever be like I have to do that every time.
Right.
And he's comfortable with it, so it works with him. But I don't want to ever feel like that has to be my thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a Florida man.
Yeah.
Shirts are kind of secondary.
Yeah. It's true. I just Winnie the Pooh it everywhere.
There you go. There you go. Just hang out the bottom.
Piglet. This has been fun.
Hey, I joke with my buddy KP, who does the Smoky Guys podcast with me, that our Smoky Guys podcast is basically we want to put people in the same situation they would be if they went and had a cigar with a bunch of folks.
Yeah.
And I used to say a bunch of guys, but there are so many women that smoke cigars now. But that's beside the point. But our goal is just to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Now, we kind of lead the conversation some, but just sit down and have a conversation. But we have realized that we are definitely a long-form show because we can sit down with no plan, nothing to talk about per se, light up cigars, and an hour and a half later we're going, well, we probably ought to end this at some point.
Yeah.
Because we'll just sit and talk.
And that's kind of how I feel here. Like again, this is like a spotlight for whoever's the guest on the show.
Right.
But also it's a spotlight just in this area of just, you know, having a great conversation, getting to know people, because I think there's something here, and a lot of things work long form. And for me personally, I can't separate my podcasting from my stand-up.
Okay.
Like, it's very symbiotic for me.
Yeah.
I love both.
Yeah.
And I like, there's some things like I'll have a story, and there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, that worked right on the podcast, I'm gonna try to work that on my stand-up.
Sure.
And then there's sometimes where I do that and it doesn't really work, where I'm like, okay, that's better out of the podcast thing.
Right.
So having that other way or another avenue to make that material work sometimes is a blessing.
Sure. And it also gives you an opportunity to kind of workshop things.
Yeah.
Off stage.
Yeah.
I have done that a lot I'll have a bright idea, and so I'll just throw it out during a conversation or during a podcast or whatever, and see what kind of response it gets. See if I can find somewhere to go with it. Because there's nothing I hate worse than getting on stage and throwing out a premise without having a well-developed punch.
Yeah.
And there are comedians who are good at that, and they throw the premise out, and they throw the setup out, and they put themselves in a corner, and then they have to work themselves out of the corner.
Yeah.
And that's what they're good at, and that's how they write.
They're good under pressure.
Right. And then when they're getting, and they do that at open mics, and then when they're getting paid, they only do their best material.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, I have to have a good punchline to work from the beginning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going on stage.
Yeah.
What I think is a good punchline. Let me let me correct that, because some of them are not good. They're just what I think is good. So
I think that might be the clip right there.
But yeah, so I workshop stuff with friends in conversation, sitting around having cigars, whatever, because I have to workshop it before I'm putting it on stage.
Yeah. And honestly, my favorite thing to do, and I say this over and over to anybody, even if we're on back behind the stage or anything like that, or here, I love to workshop.
Yeah.
I love to just shoot the shit, and like I'll try to riff a joke, and like it goes around the circle. Usually there's some alcohol or something involved, and like I love punching up stuff and helping other people. I don't try to have like an ego about it, but I'm like, dude, that was hilarious, or like this, and then somebody does it for me, and I'm like, I love doing that in a circle.
Yeah.
That's where I think the best stuff comes from sometimes for me personally.
Yeah.
That's why I also like doing it here, because I have it recorded.
Right. Yeah, so you can go back and reference it without having to remember it.
Yeah. And, I've tried to also separate with stuff because, like, there's a delay. Like, this will be out, like, a month and a bit later.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
I booked, like, I think I'm up to, like, 35 people booked for season 2.
Oh, wow.
Season 1 was 20.
Okay.
And I just keep adding more people. But, like, I'm trying to give everybody a spotlight, give everybody a chance and, get this going. But at the same time, I'm also banking some. So, like, you're technically episode 10 already. And I haven't even put out the first episode yet.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a bunch of material in the can.
Yeah.
Because we do ours weekly.
Yeah.
And we do it week by week. And it's scary sometimes trying to find the time in any given week to get together and do the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's always great to have stuff set back.
Yeah. And I honestly think with the schedule that I've kind of built just because of the necessity of, like, having kids, having a real life, also doing the stand-up stuff, like having to have these banks so I can go back and do them like once a week or edit them.
Right.
And when my guy Stefano comes in and helps it too, it's one of those things where it kind of, how I write my stand-up on my notes and stuff is I do a lot of Google Notes, voice to text while I'm driving and stuff like that.
Right. And
if something's funny, I'm like, Google, and I'll just do it. And then I always give myself like 24 hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go back and look. And if it's still funny, I'll keep it. But I always give myself a little bit of a buffer before I start trying to incorporate something I just randomly typed for. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of works for this too. So when we're going back and editing something, or I don't think something worked or something was a little bit draggy or something like that.
Right.
Waiting a month or so in between shooting this and then editing it right before it goes out, I kind of get the audience's perspective because I'm fresh on it.
Right. And that makes sense.
And that, honestly, I think makes a better product for me when I put a podcast out, because I'm not, doing that so much as like, oh yeah, I remember this part, and this part, and this part, so I have to include it because I just remembered it. And then I put it out there and everybody's like, that really wasn't that great.
Yeah, it's only good to you because you remember it in the moment.
Yeah. And so having that little buffer has really kind of helped, I think, the product.
Makes sense.
Also, I try to do it too. It's like, ideally, I want to get people in here like a month or so before, and I'm like, hey, if you have a show like in August, let's get you in here in July so I can put it out the week of, and I can help you promote it.
Right.
I did that with Brian Bizjack with his Insult Attack, and I did that with Michael Patton on the Fresh Faces show, just trying to, help with that.
Yeah.
Because I really want this to be the place to where if I can get it bigger to where, like, Bricktown's getting ready to open. Mm-hmm. If there's traveling comedians coming in here and they want to do a podcast to help promote their shows that are in Tulsa, I want to kind of build this platform up to enough to where, like, hey, they can stop by the couch and just have a good podcast.
Right.
And I think I got the bones to it. I just need to keep getting down the building and doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Put the time in.
Makes perfect sense. That's the way it works.
I'm not in here for a sprint. Just kind of,
There you go.
I never sprint. Can you see this body?
Yeah, exactly. If you ever see me run because there's something chasing me.
Yeah. And it won't be running for very long.
No.
This, light, brisk, dash. We'll say dash. DoorDash. Yeah.
DoorDash.
Yeah. Well.
Speaking of DoorDash, I don't know if you've ever used Uber Eats.
A little bit.
I've used it once, and I'm not sure I'll ever use it again.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, I hope they're not a sponsor of the show.
Not yet.
Okay. Well,
not for this episode.
They may not
Uber
be
Eats.
after this story. I tried Uber Eats. I was sitting at my cigar bar, and I decided I was hungry. So I go on Uber Eats, my first time ever, and I find a place an order. Everything's fine. I watch the order. It gets made. It says it's made and waiting. The guy, Joseph picked it up. It says Joseph picked it up.
Damn you, Joseph.
Joseph had his GPS on so I could follow where Joseph was going. The restaurant was exactly a mile from my cigar shop. And I watched him come within half a mile of the cigar shop and then go the wrong direction. And then wander off into a neighborhood. And I'm like, uh-oh, his GPS has got him lost.
Yeah.
So he finally turns and looks like he's headed back, and he gets close and then wanders off another direction. So finally, after about 15 minutes of watching him wander around, I text message him, because you can do that through the app.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, I don't know where your GPS is taking you, but here's where I'm at. And I gave him cross streets and what direction from the cross streets. And no response. And he starts wandering even further away. And next thing I know, he's like 6 miles away. And 40 minutes later, his car stops in East Tulsa and never moves again. So I, of course, message Uber, and I'm like, there was a problem with my delivery. It was picked up and never delivered. So I don't know what happened. I tried to call, because you can do that through the app as well, and it would go straight to a voicemail that wasn't set up. So I'm convinced Joseph actually never intended to deliver my food. He just got a free meal.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I DoorDash sometimes, just after shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I honestly make a pretty good money after shows. Like, I'll do an open mic like last night, and I'll stay up like 3 o'clock in the morning DoorDashing in Tulsa.
Okay.
And I'll make $50 to $100 just doing that.
Nothing wrong with that.
But like, there's so much free food you get from DoorDash. Where late at night, the only things that are open are like Taco Bell and McDonald's.
Right. So
you go get a McDonald's order, and they'll be like pay you an extra $1 or $2, so it's like $10 for the order, and then you just sit in the parking lot for an hour because the line's so backed up. They only have like 3 employees,
right?
And everything's made per order. So there's times where I get to the front of the order line, and the customers either just said "F it, I'm going to bed,"
right,
or they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't have the order." And that's happened like to 3 different drivers, and they cancel, and I'm like the 4th one, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have the order, but the customer canceled it. Here you go." And then just give me a bag of food. I've gotten 3 family packs from McDonald's.
Oh my goodness!
Like all the chicken nuggies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've gotten a free pizza and breadsticks from Papa John's. Hertz Donuts. I got some free Hertz Donuts.
Okay.
Shout out Hertz Donuts. Amazing donuts. But just random stuff where at night people are either high or drunk and they're ordering, and then they get pissed off and impatient because they're like, why is this taking 45 minutes?
Right.
And then they just cancel it.
Ah, that's so funny.
And it happens so often.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's got to be some loss somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be taking that hit.
And my favorite is like everybody that's like after 11 o'clock that tries to order ice cream from McDonald's. You're not going to get it.
You're not going to get ice cream from McDonald's.
And then they're like, well, why didn't you bring my ice cream? And I'm like, you just need to call them back, contact DoorDash and get your credits. Like, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
And then also since COVID, they've also made it a lot easier on the drivers themselves. Because I don't know if you noticed, since COVID, everything's wrapped up and sealed and stickered. Like, they don't want the drivers going and picking through your food.
Right.
So there's no way a driver can look through to make sure your order's right anymore.
Right.
So if it's not in there, it's not our fault.
Right. It's the restaurant's fault. Yeah.
So don't blame me. I just literally drop it off. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially for Wendy's.
Yeah.
I've had fairly bad luck with fast food places lately. I I don't think I order anything that weird.
Yeah.
But my orders have been wrong more often than they've been right lately.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm a fat white dude. I love mayonnaise.
Oh, me too.
So I order
It's directly in
everything
my
with
veins.
mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And the one that irritates me is Arby's. Arby's irritates me, and again, I hope Arby's is not a sponsor of the show.
No, unloading meat, but I have plenty of meat here.
Okay, good.
Just not the meats.
If you walk into Arby's and you order what I do, which is a beef and cheddar, medium sized, which is the bigger one,
Yeah.
with mayonnaise,
Oh, okay.
they will bring you a beef and cheddar with mayonnaise on it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
If you go through the drive-thru and order the exact same thing, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a beef and cheddar and a packet of mayo. Now, understand, if you're in the restaurant where you have plenty of room at the table to open up your sandwich and fix it if you want, they fix it for you. But if you're in your car where you cannot open up your sandwich and put something on it while you're trying to drive and eat all at the same time, that's when they expect you to make your own food.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
I'm very similar with Arby's. So like it's a same wavelength because it does contain mayonnaise, and I honestly didn't know that until I realized how fat I am. I get a beef and cheddar, and I put honey mustard on it.
Oh,
I use because Arby's has their own signature honey mustard,
right?
And I didn't notice the honey mustard actually has mayonnaise in it.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's what makes it partially sweet. Is they put mayonnaise, honey, and with a little bit of mustard.
That makes sense.
That's why it's creamy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That
So if
makes
you
a lot
like
of
honey mustard and it's like because it's not so mustardy, it's because it has a shitload of mayo.
sense. It has mayo in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you like mayo, but you like honey mustard, guess what?
Yeah. So I'll add honey mustard to my beef and cheddar. And yeah, if you go to the drive-thru, they give you little cups of like the honey mustard, and you have to like cup it and pour it in there.
Yeah. While
Like-
you're trying to drive.
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
Yeah.
None.
I miss the old days. Like I think Burger King still does it. Remember the fry things that have the top that has the thing where you can put the cup in?
Yes.
That was so handy. They do it for their chicken fries and stuff.
Yes. And Sonic used to do it for their popcorn chicken.
Yep.
They had the little lid that flipped over and you could put the cup right in there.
Then maybe me and you can bond over this and say, honestly, the happiest day of my life sometimes with fast food is when Sonic switched their default setting to ketchup and mayo instead of mustard.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
When they were like, yes, we
Wholeheartedly.
understand there's a lot of fat white dudes that want mayonnaise as a default.
Right. That's right. Yeah, because I quit having to special order my sandwiches.
Yeah.
Because I could just order it off the menu.
Yeah. I mean, I had a phobia of mustard, like weirdly. Go ahead.
I just didn't like the flavor for a long time. Now, I've since learned to enjoy mustard.
Same.
In some ways. Now, I still am not a big fan of just plain yellow mustard.
Yeah.
But give me a good, Dijon or wine mustard or a fresh crushed mustard.
Yeah.
I'm better with that.
I'll like that stuff. I'll put a little bit of a regular mustard, like on a hot dog with some ketchup and relish or something like that. I like it in the mix, but I don't like I don't like mustard by itself. But yeah, growing up, my dad got food poisoning working out in the field sometimes, and so anytime we had to do something, he would make us lunch to go. It was always that Oscar Mayer ring bologna and mustard, and I hate both those things so much to this day that I can't even eat bologna.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was what I was force fed, those two flavors together, and it just grosses me out.
Yeah.
The most thing that I ever had empathy for, there's a guy that was on the crew of Jackass.
Okay.
He wasn't on the main cast. He was like a film, one of the guys, the camera guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they found out that he has a legit phobia of mustard. Like it freaks him out.
Oh, really?
They make a fake stunt and they make a fake shoot. They get him there and then they just douse him in mustard.
Oh.
And this dude goes into a full-on rage.
Okay, everything's fucking funny, right? Yeah, you want to see funny?
No, don't do it.
Nice car, pussy.
Don't do it. Come on, chill. Don't do it.
Don't kill us, please. Into my fucking face! Dude, I'll get it. It's my fault. Take it out of me. Beat me up. I made him do it, dude. Just don't scratch the car. I know what it is. Here, come to my room and shower. No, don't do this car. Don't do this car. Please, come on. Dude, you're fucked.
Dude, I'm actually surprised he took it that mellow.
Dude, I would
thought
never
he'd just
sleep
go into a
again, man.
stance.
Took it that mellow. He just kicked my fucking
Dude, I thought
car.
he was gonna try and kill everyone.
Oh.
Like wants to punch them and is punching the van and freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Over mustard. And I've never seen that, but I was like, I can kind of understand. Cause like there was one time I had my shirt off and I was like, yeah, I know, scary thought, guys. I'm on my computer and my first wife was like over there and she's making something in the kitchen. And she brought the mustard over to like look at something on the computer. She's shaking it and it exploded all over me. And I was just like, get a towel. I'm not gonna open my eyes. Just get a towel. I smell everything's mustard right now. I'm gonna throw up. Like, just, so I can understand that a little bit.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, as I've gotten older, I can appreciate a little bit of mustard.
Well, I find I intentionally try foods I know I don't like.
Yeah.
Every few years.
Yeah.
Because I have found things that I now like that I didn't years ago.
I'm the same way. Especially it's weirdly, but since my divorce and stuff, I've tried to be like more outgoing with like different flavors and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid growing up where I really couldn't handle spicy food growing up.
Oh, really?
So much so like you can go to a Mexican restaurant, I couldn't handle the house salsa sometimes.
Wow.
My tongue would just like go nuts.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I can handle more spicy stuff, and so I've gone back and tried to relearn stuff and retaste stuff. And so yeah, a lot more cuisines now I'm into.
Yeah. See, for me, it was not the spicy; it was anything vegetable. I hated vegetables, and it was not just the kid thing of I don't like vegetables.
Yeah,
they literally tasted bad to me, and then I figured out that there are some vegetables that I taste different than some other people.
Yeah,
like cooked spinach tastes like chemicals to me.
Cilantro
tastes like soap.
You're one of those. Yep,
I'm one of those guys, and so there was a lot of that growing up that. I just knew I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I couldn't explain why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then as I grew older, some of those things went away and I learned to enjoy them. Some of them I still don't like and I now understand better why.
Yeah. My ex-roommate was, my friend, he is one of the cilantro types that has the same thing where it tastes like dish soap. And anytime we go to a Mexican restaurant and there's just that amount of cilantro and everything, he's like, nope.
Something happened in 2010 that they decided cilantro needed to be in everything.
Yeah.
Not just Mexican food anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's in everything.
Yeah.
And that's tough for me because
it's the new parsley.
Exactly.
Because people were like, "Oh, I don't want to eat the stem of parsley. Have you heard of cilantro?"
Right. Yeah, because there was a whole thing where you don't use anything to as an accoutrement on a plate that you can't actually eat.
Yeah.
Whereas parsley, most people don't want to eat.
No.
So they quit using that and started using other things like kale.
Yeah. Kale. Kale's just not a fun word to say. It doesn't do anything for me. It's just like kale.
I grew kale this year.
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to be a gardener.
I like it in soups and stuff. I have nothing against kale. It's just the name kale. Kale sounds like, I don't know, they're going to go take a tour of San Francisco. Like,
sounds like somebody's name.
Yeah. Oh, kale. Like,
oh, that's just kale.
Yeah.
It's that way.
You just have to forgive her. Kale. Dude, I'm having a lot of fun.
I am too. I am too.
I keep checking
talk,
I'm doing
talk
good.
as long as you want.
My phone's going on. Oh, my Google alerts is like, oh, somebody's been saying the word Google.
Oh.
Thank you for the bourbon, by the way, too.
Oh, not a problem. I'm a big bourbon guy, and actually, I'm a big Scotch guy, and my buddy KP was a big bourbon guy, and so I started teaching him about Scotch. He started teaching me more about bourbon because I drank bourbon as a young man, but I didn't know anything about it, and so now I'm a big bourbon fan. This one in particular is made by George Dickel. It is 15-year-old bourbon, but it's actually 17 years old because it is a barrel pick. Hasty Bake Grills, I don't know if you know who they are.
I've heard the name.
Okay, Hasty Bake is made over there in Tulsa, and Hasty Bake did a barrel pick where they picked their own barrel and got the entire barrel. And this is one from that barrel pick. And they picked it in like 2020 when they couldn't bottle it.
Yeah.
And so it sat for 2 years waiting to be bottled. So it really is a 17 instead of a 15.
It's very smooth.
It's very good. I really like it.
It's nice just to sip, just a nice sipping.
Absolutely. You mentioned not having ice when we were
Yeah.
pouring the bourbon. I find, going back to taste buds, the older I get, the more I like my whiskey neat. Because the older I get, the more I want all of those flavor profiles.
Yeah.
I want to taste everything in it, and ice and water just kind of washes away some of that.
I can understand that because I don't like a lot of ice in my drinks or anything too. I'm also the same way like condiments and stuff. Like I know we talked about like having like a mayonnaise or something on a burger or something, but like when I have fries or something like that, or a steak, I don't really need a steak sauce. If it's I want to taste the actual item,
Right?
And if that's good, that's all I need. If it's bad, then I'll cover it up,
Right?
But I'm not the first person who's like I'm gonna drown this thing in ketchup, or anything like that.
I'm the same way. If I'm ever at a steakhouse and they go, "Do you need any steak sauce?" My usual response is, "I hope not."
Yeah, exact same way. But I'm also so snobby because like I've gotten really good. Like I love to cook.
I do too.
I'm very particular with how I cook my steaks. I love to do a reverse seared method. I'll go light my grill up to like 700 degrees, and then just reverse sear them in the oven for like 12 minutes, and then take them out there and just fucking grill them real quick.
Yeah,
and they're perfect every time. They're juicy. They're just amazing. And
see, I do that with my sous vide.
Oh yeah,
I'll sous vide them.
I want to get a sous vide. That's my next thing I want to get.
The grill and just sear them off as hot as I can get them.
Yep. I love watching like Guga and stuff like that. And like the sous vide everything YouTube channel. Yeah, so I want to get a sous vide machine. Yeah. So.
Well, you mentioned Ethan Sandoval. He's probably the reason that I went ahead and pulled the trigger on getting a sous vide stick. Because he had one and fed me some steak that was just delicious.
Yeah.
And I had drooled over sous vide equipment for years.
Yeah.
Because I got into molecular gastronomy eons ago because to me it's chemistry. And that's just fun.
Yeah.
You know, I did chemistry as a younger person. I was a lab tech at a hazardous waste lab eons ago. And so that's kind of that fits my profile. That fits who I am.
Yeah.
To combine chemistry with cooking. And so I've drooled over sous vide machines forever, but I would never pull the trigger because I never knew whether or not it was something I was really going to enjoy. And back then, they were still fairly expensive.
Yeah.
And so Ethan got a hold of one and started cooking with it and shared some of his experience, and it was great.
I think that's something I really want to get into as a sous vide. It's on my Amazon wish list. I already have the bags, everything picked out.
Yeah.
Christmas. Come on, viewers. But
that's what you need on your wish list on your link tree.
Yeah.
You have your
that'd be a good idea.
OnlyFans and your wish list and your
talk to Katie Style. We were talking about how like we're so fat we should have an OnlyFlan.
There you go.
And we should have an OnlyFans.
I like that.
But yeah, I want a sous vide. One of the other things that game changed is like the last couple of years has been air fryer technology.
Absolutely.
I have my multi-decker over there that has the trays and does the dehydration and all that stuff, and that thing has changed everything I cook with. It's amazing. It takes so much effort out of everything.
I'll be honest, that was one of those things that got by me when it first came out.
Yeah.
That and Instant Pots.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
They just filed for bankruptcy.
Instant Pot did?
Yeah, the people behind Instant Pot and what's it, Corningware or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just filed for bankruptcy like 2 days ago.
Well, that was one of those things. I'm like, okay, I know what a pressure cooker is. My grandmother used to be scared of them.
Yeah.
Because they used to be scary.
Yeah.
And so I never wanted to mess with an Instant Pot. And then the air fryer came out, and I'm like, okay, so it's like a microwave, only it's not.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Until my sister-in-law, for Christmas a few years back, got me a Ninja Foodie, which is the all-in-one. It does air frying. It's an Instant Pot. It does all of it.
Yeah.
And I started cooking with that thing, and I fell in love.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, the air fryer is just a convection oven.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's an oven that moves the air, so it's a convection oven. I've worked with convection ovens in commercial kitchens. I love convection ovens. Why didn't somebody tell me that that's what an air fryer was a convection oven? And then I fell in love with the Instant Pot stuff as well because it's just so handy.
I do Instant Pot desserts. Like there was a guy I watched named Sam the Cooking Guy.
Mm-hmm.
He did like Instant Pot desserts, and like there's a 1-item recipe he does, and it's just you take a can of evaporated milk or condensed evaporated milk.
Yeah.
And you just put that in Instant Pot.
Yeah.
And it turns into dulce
like caramel.
Yeah, caramel.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, I did that. Actually, I did that for Christmas last year for a bunch of my wife's school teacher compatriots.
Yeah.
We do gifts every year. And so I took and made caramel and put a little bow around it and then gave them a package of pre-made or pre-packaged cookie mix where you just add milk or something like that.
That's cool.
And so they had cookies with the dipping sauce.
Nice. Yeah, I love having that stuff. And I'm also my girls. I have two daughters. They're 6 and 12, and I'm divorced. So like when I'm over here, I'm trying to be super dad and stuff. I enjoy my time being a dad.
Sure.
But like they're getting more into like wanting to cook and stuff too. So like they're having fun with the air fryer and stuff like that. And I have an Instant Pot too. So yeah, we have fun with that. It's fascinating for me how good an air fryer is at like reheating old like fast food.
Absolutely.
It makes McDonald's French fries taste brand new again for some reason.
It has changed the fried chicken game.
Yes.
I can order the family pack and not worry about losing 6 pieces of chicken.
Pizza too.
Pizza does well as long as it'll fit in there.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
I have like mine's over there and it has 3 trays and they're about this big.
Okay, so you've got a lot bigger trays than what my Instant Pot does.
The other thing that
Ninja Foodie does.
The other thing that changed my thing was a pizza stone. I have a pizza stone in my oven, and that was $30 at Target.
Yeah, I've used pizza stones for years.
They work so. I mean, even a frozen pizza tastes better on those.
Oh yeah,
it's so easy, and just those little things just transform a kitchen and makes it fun.
Well, see, I leave a pizza stone in my oven at all times.
Same. That's what I do
because it just helps the heat maintain consistency. So
yeah,
I just leave it in there.
Yeah, I keep mine in there 24/7. I mean, it just there's no really detriment. I clean it every once in a while, but yeah. And have a thing of cornmeal at all times just for my pizzas and stuff and throw it on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a little touches make everything taste better.
Little things.
And MSG.
So you have watched Uncle Roger.
Yeah. Big fan of Uncle Roger.
MSG flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that voice legally.
So was it like, did they like owe your family a debt or something? Was it like Hatfield versus McCoy's? No. I'm just flabbergasted. Like, how are you getting laid more than I am? And how are you not needing a sponsor like Blue Chew? Which again, could be a sponsor of Unloading Meat, but they're not right now. If you'd like to change that and stop hearing about Stefano's sexual escapades, reach out to your favorite sponsors like Blue Chew and tell them to sponsor Unloading Meat. Now, back to the episode.
I tell you, that's the problem with being a 52-year-old guy doing comedy. Everybody. I'll bring it back to comedy.
You're good. From food.
Everybody says, a lot of the comedians I talk with, they're like, just say what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because you're a funny guy. You understand funny. Just say what comes to mind. I'm like, yeah, but I'm a 52-year-old white dude who grew up in church and in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If I say the first thing that comes to mind, it's always going to be racist, sexist, or homophobic.
Yeah.
Every time. It's still going to be funny, but it's going to be racist, sexist, and homophobic.
And then it's like, do you really want to give, I mean, not just to be general, but like an adult male, be like, just say the first thing that comes to your mind when you're looking at a crowd and be like, nice tits. What?
Exactly.
No, you don't want to hear that.
No, nobody wants that. But yeah, I've often joked that if everybody knew what I thought at any given point in time, I would be in jail constantly because that's just my brain is broken.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I think most people's are.
Yeah.
And people just don't want to admit it.
Yep.
I think that's
and the ones that do stand up comedy.
Right. Yeah, and get canceled.
Yeah. That's why I'm not big enough to get canceled yet.
Right.
Well, I'm big enough, but
yeah,
in other ways.
I'm physically big enough to get canceled, but I'm too big to be able to squeeze through that hole that they're canceling me through.
Yeah, I'm a big Miley fan. I come in everywhere like a wrecking ball.
See, okay, that's my problem with podcasts because of all of the copyright strike stuff. I'm one of those guys. I don't know if you've ever heard people say they don't like musicals. Because in real life, people don't walk around just breaking into song.
Yeah.
That is so not true.
Same here.
I am one of those guys. Anything that's said, I'm probably in my head running through a song that goes with whatever was said.
I'll be this will be trimmed or anything, but so my set, I love going through song lyrics. I've even worked on things like I'm a big karaoke guy. I love to sing. I've always wanted to be. I've never wanted to be a main singer in a band. I've always wanted to be the backup singer in the band. So like I always identified with like the Bee Gees or like anybody doing songs where they had a high pitched singer in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be that person doing that stuff.
Okay.
Like you could play any song, and I'm like always going like ha ha, just doing those high pitched stuff. So I always like that kind of stuff. But yeah, karaoke always identified with me. So like I tear apart lyrics, and I'll sing a lyric, and then I'll do a punchline sometimes. Like songs that are just really high pitched. Like I sing Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
Okay.
So like, that's very high pitched stuff.
Sure.
So it's more of a shock to be like, oh wow, this fat dude can sing this stuff, and then I hit him with a punchline.
Right.
But right now, my thing that's working so much for me, I'm really putting in my main Tide 5, is I dissect the song True to Your Heart, which is from the Mulan soundtrack.
Okay.
It's by 98 Degrees and Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
And it's kind of problematic if you read those lyrics because they made poor blind Stevie Wonder sing nothing but lyrics about open your eyes, you can see everything, and it's just nothing but metaphors about seeing stuff.
That's funny.
And so I just dissect it, and I'll go line by line, and I'll be like, open your eyes, your heart can tell you no lies. And I'll stop, and I'll point at somebody, and I'll go, ma'am, just so you know, he's blind.
Right.
And I'll do another one, like, ma'am, just so you know, he has a visual impairment. And I'll just go through that, and then I do my Stevie Wonder impression. I go like that with my long hair.
Right.
And I'm like, don't mess with me. Yes, I close my eyes when I do a Stevie Wonder impression. It's my fantasy. How would you do it?
That's funny.
But you know what I mean? Like, just that I feel like music's universal. A lot of people talk like if you don't know the language, you still can identify and bond over music.
Right.
So for me, like you talk about, I always have a soundtrack going in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love James Gunn movies, because I think he's the same way.
Exactly.
Honestly, I wish to get a project big enough to where I can be like James Gunn in Freedom, where I'm like, yeah, I can have any soundtrack I want.
Right.
Because there's been times where I've like written a script or something like that. I have a TV script and stuff like that I've written. I love to write.
Uh-huh.
But there's things where I'm like, I would love to incorporate around this song. Yeah, I'm not getting those rights.
Right. Yeah.
I had this really high idea, and this is my high idea, and maybe it'll turn into like Kevin Smith's Tusk kind of thing where they talk about it on a podcast and somebody funds it. Somebody should do like an FX show, because I had this premise where like, how back in the day all our famous TV and movies were based on the novels by Stephen King or some famous author.
Right.
We don't have that anymore.
Right.
They're always going to be, now it's just going to be contemporary. It's going to be like one-hit wonders. So it's going to be like based on the song The Way by Fastball.
Okay.
And it's just doing those lyrics. I mean, somebody should do like a dramatic FX show, and it's just about like every road they walk on is paved in gold. But it's always summer, they'll never get cold. Just, you know what I mean? Like that's what we're gonna get our shows based on now. Everything's turning into idiocracy.
Funny. Yeah, and they'll never grow old.
Yeah. Never go hungry. Never.
That's too funny.
I think that'd be a great premise.
That's too funny.
I love doing that kind of stuff.
Sure, absolutely, and anything that fires up those creative juices.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I get picked on and joked about the fact that I do so many different creative things, because I do the comedy, I do the music, I do some acting, I do pottery, I do drawing and painting, and I do all of these creative outlets, but I think they all feed on each other.
Yeah.
And so for me, they're all just expressions of the moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big proponent of dabbling in all of the different arts.
Yeah, and it's like to tie back to like what I was talking about, like how I can't separate my podcasting from my stand-up and stuff. I feel like they're both outlets for different things that, different outlets. Some things would work with podcasting that would work with, stand-up. And like
Absolutely.
when I'm writing, like I said, I've never told anybody, but I do have scripts I've wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love to creatively write. I have one of my therapy things just to write. I'm a very good writer.
Right.
I can, without any ego, I can say I can write a fucking novel.
Yeah.
Any girlfriend or anybody that's even ever said that's trying to do like a text war with me, you're gonna lose.
Right.
Like I'm the one bro that can out text most women. I'll go on a rant and you are not prepared. But yeah, that's just how I move. I like to be. Where were we even talking about? I'm just kind of
Writing
right
scripts.
Writing scripts. Yes. Thank you, CR. I'm a little bit runny. I've been drinking this good bourbon.
Yeah. Well, the fact that I could remember that is fairly amazing.
I just like, I feel like you were talking about there's different outlets for different things that I want to accomplish and do. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I've not hitting a stride on this stand-up. That's why I'm also doing 3 different things in my production studio.
Sure.
I have my podcast, which is going good. And not that I'm putting it on the back burner, but also the benefit of banking these so many episodes is I can have that done and know that I can have that on every Monday. It's going to come out. Okay, cool. That's set. Let's focus on this next project.
Right, yeah. Well, like I said, I'm a big fan of having multiple avenues and multiple venues and multiple ways of doing things and multiple opportunities for creative outlets.
Yeah.
Because that's important. And what a lot of people don't realize that are not in the creative world is that that's the way creatives operate. Because a lot of people think about they go to their job and they have one job and they go to that job and they do that job and then they're done with that job and then they have their hobbies.
Yeah.
For creatives, I think everything is both our job and our hobby and our life.
Yeah.
And there's no real separating all of that.
Yeah.
Like there is in most people's lives where they can compartmentalize.
Yeah. I mean, even here, like I could have a better conversation and get to know you as on a friend level more on this podcast than I could at a bar, like being like not, you know, having a 5-10 minute conversation.
Right.
Loud music, you know, we're drinking and stuff like, and we're still drinking here, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like this is a more easier way of creating a bond or relationship.
Probably because weirdly enough, in front of a microphone, we're both more comfortable than just sitting down talking to somebody.
Exactly.
Because I know I'm that way.
Yeah.
I've always said I am more comfortable in a room full of 500 or 5,000 people I don't know.
Yeah.
Being up in front and being the one doing the talking.
Yeah.
Than I am in a group of 12 where I know 2 people.
Yes.
I am awkward as all get out in small groups or small stuff where I can see them, they can see me, and we have to interact.
Yeah.
Interpersonally.
Yeah.
Give me a room full of 500 or 5,000 and I'll get up every time. My wife gives me a hard time because we'll go to concerts, and we were at a country concert at one of the casinos not too long ago, and we're sitting on like the 5th row. So we're right up front.
Yeah.
And about halfway through the concert, I turn around and look up at the audience, and she's like, why are you, the show's over there. I'm like, yeah, but this.
Yeah.
Do you see this? I've always been that way. And I realized in that moment, from the time I was very young, I was always fascinated with looking backwards at the audience as much as looking forward on the stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good sign of what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I can agree with that. Yeah.
That seems, I want to watch people having fun.
Yeah.
And be on this side of it.
Yeah.
As opposed to being one of the crowd having the fun.
Yeah, and so I can relate with that too, because like I identify so much, like when you say like I can be like the one on stage within 500 or 5,000, I feel like I'd be more comfortable with that. At the same time, a lot of my anxiety comes from being a big guy just growing up.
Right.
I grew up also always like, I'm the big guy in the room. I'm always trying to make myself the smallest person in the room. Like, don't draw attention.
Right.
So the worst thing you could do to me is put me in that crowd while there's something happening and I draw attention. And everybody turns around and looks like, what are you doing? That's my biggest, I will freak the hell out. And that's something that's just I'm conscious about. So I'll do my sets and stuff, but at the same time, when I go back down and sit down, I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. It's starting to hit me. I'm going to fuck up and trip something, or this chair's going to break because I'm so fat. And something's going to happen.
Well, see, I've always been a big guy as well. And the way I always handled that was by being a bit wild or out there in some way or another.
Yeah.
You know, when my wife and I met, I had a plum purple mohawk. Now, she didn't notice because I was wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And so she did not have a clue that I had it. But I had a plum purple mohawk. I wore black fingernail polish, and this was, the early 90s, back when that was, was it early 90s? Yeah, early 90s. When that was not as cool a thing to do as it is now.
Yeah.
And so I would do things that were outrageous or outlandish. I would wear bright colors. I would do things to stand out.
Yeah.
So that I was in control.
that's kind of similar
of that
psychology
perception.
to me. Yep.
So when somebody turned and looked at me, I went, I know why they're looking at me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wonder, are they whispering about me?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to do something so bold that I know they're whispering about me, but I know why.
Yeah.
That was my coping mechanism.
So same here with, until I grew this out, it's always been a mohawk. I always had a mohawk since I was like 18. Bright colors. I've been, hundreds of different hair colors, stuff like that. The tattoos, bright shirts and stuff like that. I'm very, out there, bright car. So I understand because like if for some reason somebody's going to turn around and see me, there's going to be a wall of things they're going to see. That's the last thing they're going to notice is the fat.
Right.
And that's just how I always grew up. And I mean, even the first season, I had a segment called The Preheat, and I still have it. It's kind of on the back burner, no pun intended. But the idea was I grew up fat, and so I learned to basically do all the fat jokes before they could ever do them.
Right.
And I learned that stuff. That's how I grew up, basically to be funny, basically.
Right.
Create that armor. Take the power away.
Right.
And so I had this segment, and I still brawl it out, but basically the premise is I know putting this out there, I'm going to get some hate. There's going to be trolls. There's going to be people out there, right?
Yeah.
It just happens putting stuff on the internet. I will read those comments on the air if they email me it with a picture of themselves so I can retort.
There you go.
And that's called the preheat. So I'll take their thunder and I'll respond it back.
I like that.
So I'm basically just waiting for viewer mail to start popping in, and I'll start doing that more.
I like that.
But I think there's some legs to it.
Absolutely.
So to speak.
Absolutely.
And so I have that, and I still have the graphics stuff for it. It's not dead. It's just gonna be on the back burner until we get this rolling a little bit better.
Sure.
But
I like that idea, and I like that concept. But yeah, that was just always a coping mechanism for me.
Yeah.
And of course, back then I didn't call it a coping mechanism. I didn't know why. I didn't know why in high school I wore a trench coat. Of course, this was long before school shooters.
Yeah.
So wearing a trench coat was
You're talking to a guy that identified with Silent Bob. I understand.
There you go. So I didn't know why I wore a trench coat in high school. I didn't know why I did all these fairly outlandish things. But thinking back on it, I realized that was just a coping mechanism. So that since I knew people were going to look at me sideways because of my size, I was going to give them something to talk about.
Yeah. And that's honestly, like I said, I went to therapy for a bit, and I'm not in it now, but they gave me a lot of tools that I still use, basically, so to speak. They gave me a way of blueprinting and dealing with my stuff, and kind of just put me in a new perspective, new frame of everything. And then it gave me the tools to kind of look back on my life and go through those things and kind of connect those dots like you're talking about. Like, yeah, that's why I was doing this. This is what happened. This caused this and like that.
Right.
And once I dealt with all that, it just kind of gave me the tools to kind of be and truly just feel like a better person going forward.
Sure.
So yeah, I not saying like I'm done with therapy or anything like that. I just at a certain point, it just reached its conclusion where I felt like I didn't need it anymore for now.
Right.
But the tools they gave me helped.
Absolutely.
There's a Netflix documentary. I think it's called like Schultz or Stoltz. It's Jonah Hill.
Okay.
And it's
where it's him and his therapist.
Yes.
I've
very
heard about
fascinating.
that.
I highly recommend anybody watch it. If you've ever been curious about therapy, been like it's not for me, or I'm never gonna find somebody like that, watch that documentary and this guy talk about it. And he lays out just basically his way of thinking. And I'm not trying to change who you are. We're not gonna change the past. We're not gonna give you a magic cure. I'm just going to teach you how to go through life, and this is just how to deal with situations and just deal with the things that happen in your life and kind of understand why that affected the way you are.
Right.
And that's all he does is just give you the tools.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's not trying to change anything. It's just giving you tools. And I kind of like that perspective. And it also helped me with mine because during that time I was looking for a therapist. I went through 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah.
Because in me, I've learned that because of the fear is what if this person doesn't get me, or who am I talking to? This just complete stranger or something like that. And for me, it was basically just finding somebody that really clicked with me. And once you find that, it happened. And then I'm not the most religious person, but there's people that turn to pastors and stuff like that, and it's the same thing.
Sure.
You turn to somebody outside that can possibly listen and give you some good insight.
Absolutely.
And so I went through 3 or 4 people before I found one that really just helped.
Yeah.
And so when I watched that Netflix documentary, and it's Jonah and him literally talking like this, face to face for an hour in black and white, and they're just talking in a raw conversation. And it was fascinating because they were talking about similar things. And Jonah was like, I went through multiple therapists and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it was just a raw, candid thing. And once I kind of learned that, I was like, oh yeah, even these people kind of go through that. And it's kind of just a breakdown of we're all human. This is just how psychology works.
Right.
Fascinated me, and it just made me be able to click things. Like, oh, that's why I question my sexuality. Because like when I was in 8th grade, I got in a fight with a kid, and they made me run laps in full gear with the other kid holding hands while the school called us. Like, I don't believe that, but like, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
like, look at the little queer kids, and they were saying like basically laughing at us. We had to run laps of the little gay kids.
Yeah.
And I remember that shit, and like, I'm like, man, maybe that had something to do with why I questioned my sexuality for 20 years. Ooh.
Yeah.
Connect the dots.
Exactly.
Everything's that picture of Charlie on It's Always Sunny with all the strings and stuff. We got real on Unloading Meat.
Yeah. Sorry, we got deep for a second.
You having fun?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
CR.
What can be better? I'm sitting here talking about myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Drinking
I'm a
good
narcissist.
drinks. Yeah.
I'm a narcissist, and I'm talking about myself and drinking whiskey.
Cheers.
What more can I ask for?
Thanks for the good company.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It has been a blast. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, even if I did have to come halfway to Kansas.
Yeah, I grew up in Copan. Do you know where that is?
I do know where Copan is.
I grew up there, and we had 20 acres out there, and Copan's so small, you only have a truck stop and a Dollar General now. They didn't
Right.
have Dollar General back then.
Right.
You know a town's small when Dollar General finds a way.
Right.
Like, they could have, like, it's like, how did this town even get Wi-Fi? Dollar General found a
Dollar
way.
General.
Yeah.
Dollar General is why they
When
have
half the
Wi-Fi.
town works at the Dollar General or has been fired from the Dollar General for bad checks.
Right.
You know, they're on the wall for all the bad checks. Hey, that's Daryl. Damn it, Daryl, get milk.
Daryl can't get milk. He can't write a check.
He left 7 years ago saying he's going to get milk and never came back.
But yeah, thanks for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a blast. I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on the Smoky Guys sometime.
I would love to come on. I love to chat. I've never actually smoked a cigar, but I'm into it.
Hey, there's a first time for everything.
I'm open to it. I just love having good conversations, and I'm a press horse, so I'll go out there and get myself something in front of a camera,
Absolutely.
microphone. You can put your microphone on a phone. I'll still talk in front of it. I don't care. I admire a guy. One of my closest friends in the scene now is a guy named Trash. And it's his gimmick outside. I don't bleep his name. It's his character.
Right.
But that dude hustles and will even just do his riffs when he's at Quick Trip or like just to homeless people. He'll just do his set.
Yeah.
And just do it. He's always practicing it. And like, I kind of admire that kind of shit where it's like always determined, always trying to get better.
Yeah.
That's people I mess with. So
Makes sense.
Thank you for being on the show, man. Where can everybody find you at? Where can everybody find the podcast?
On all the social medias, I'm either CR Parsons or CR Parsons Comedian. Depends on whether they allowed you enough room to put the full word comedian, or I had to cut it down to comedy. So I can be found there. If you want to email me directly, I don't care. Feel free to. I give out my email address liberally. It's booking@crparsons.com. Check out the website, crparsons.com. And if you're looking for the Smoky Guys for the cigar podcast, that is on YouTube under the Smoky Guys. And it's me and my buddy Kevin Price. I call him KP.
Nice.
We are the Smoky Guys, and we've had guest comedians on. We had James Johan and Dustin from Little Rock, and we've had other guests on, musician guests and what have you. And as far as the music, Kevin Price Band or Kevin Price, depending on what streaming service or where you're stealing music from.
Nice. Or whoever Spotify or Apple Music you're borrowing from your relatives.
That's right. That's right.
Get that family plan, guys. It's cheaper. CR, thank you for coming on. It's been a great chat. Guys, go out and see this man wherever he is going to be at. You can catch him on Tulsa King, Reservation Dogs. This man is one of the hardest working men I've seen in the scene. And he's also great at propping your phone up whenever it drops during your first set in 14 years. So, guys, I've been Jared Ralphie Allen. That's CR Parsons. Thank you for watching Unloading Meat. Peace.
I'm loading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm loading the meat.